So I like to say that the Agile is a concept. It's not a methodology, because there's not a described way how it works.
Hi everybody, I'm Ademar Albertin, I'm product owner from EXIN, and today I have the pleasure to be over here interviewing one of the most influential persons from the Agile field, Arie van Bennekum. Arie is co-author of the Agile Manifesto that was written back then in 2001, and also he is the major authority of the EXIN Agile Scrum program as chief examiner. Welcome, Arie. Please.
Thank you, Ademar. Yeah, let me take the opportunity to introduce myself a little bit more than the 2 lines that you gave, right? Indeed, I'm one of the authors of the Agile Manifesto. I started my career in 1987 in the IT. Before that, I worked in healthcare, and I worked in the military forces. From being a developer to a technical designer in the mid-90s, in 1994 to be precise, I changed my way of working. Did my first steps in what we call Agile today. I was very active in the community. Therefore, I was also one of the people writing the Agile Manifesto. I was representing one of the communities. And from there on, I started working more and more within the word Agile. And over the last decade or a little bit more, I really started specializing in Agile transformations, because for a lot of people, it's so easy to do Agile, but make a company Agile is complicated. So that's why I have my focus there, and I love that.
Great. Thank you very much to be with us today, Arie. So today we're going to provide you some questions. I would like to hear from you exactly what are your thoughts regarding to these matters. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So let's go to our interview. So the first thing that I would like to understand is, what is Agile itself? Because I feel that we have so many different definitions or thoughts regarding to Agile, but from you as a co-author of the Agile Manifesto, what it is the best definition that you could provide for Agile itself?
Well, first of all, your feeling is right. I have to say that there are so many definitions, and there are so many myths and legends in the Agile world. It's a very young domain, young professional domain. I think that's why. For me, it is, and it always has been, and that's an interesting one, because I will tell you in a minute. I was talking to Alistair Coburn, one of the other authors of the Agile Manifesto, in 2011 in Salt Lake City, when we celebrated 10 years of the Agile Manifesto, and he said to me, because at one moment in time we were like 14 or 17, we had a conversation, and after more than an hour, I said, guys, interesting conversation. I miss one word, and that word is customer in the whole debate. And then Alistair said, hey, Arie, you know, Agile is like an old European city. It's like you have a market for fish, and you have a market for cattle, and you have a market. I said, your market, he said, is business value. I said, yes, it is. And I'm also an agnostic in Agile. So I use, from all the Agile methodologies, I use practices that help me the most. So I think there are three angles to explain the word. And first of all, what Agile really is, it's bringing business value earlier to the market with a better internal quality. That's for me what you want to do. Or if you want to make it really short, it's avoiding delay. And in old ways of working, you have misunderstandings, you have lots of inefficiencies, and also you have a lot of quality problems. And misunderstandings require rework. And when you look at bugs, they require rework. So it makes you late. Inefficient working makes you late anyway. So you want to cut out delay. So that's why I said the 2 words, avoiding delay, right? And then, okay, you can also ask yourself, okay, what is it in terms of, what is it that you see when people work Agile, where you get your agility, taking out the misunderstandings, improving the quality, and be efficient, is a lot focusing on interaction moments. And everybody in the Agile world is familiar with things like daily and retro and things like heartbeat or those kind of words. And they are moving away from remote and written communication to face-to-face communication. And that's one of the most important aspects of working Agile.
Thank you very much for your answer, well, and for the clarification, because believe me, I read so many different definitions that sometimes drives me crazy and nuts to try to understand what it is.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to listen exactly from the source of the truth. But as we are talking about like to avoid business delays and to provide like a value to the customer and to the business, how actually Agile would help to achieve these items that you said before during the definition of Agile?
I think they're in the detail quite a lot of aspects, but let me give you what I think is the most important one. You achieve that agility by having people in close collaboration. And what I mean is, being together, let's say at the table in a room or a remote room if you want to, right? That's also fine. But what you want is having people together. So instead of, listening to one and making their document out of it, sending it to another with all the misunderstandings and interpretations that are in there, you said, okay, we are close collaborating. So Agile is moving away from remote or written to face-to-face communication. And it's also moving away from an individual task to team responsibility, team delivery. In the past, you would have the responsibility to deliver code or to deliver a technical design or to deliver a functional design or to deliver whatever. And now you have those very small time boxes, the sprints. And at the end of a sprint, the team is responsible to deliver ready to production. And that means to production and not less, right? And that's where you get, but to make that happen in a couple of weeks time, from this is a written requirement, the user story, into be ready for production, that means very close collaboration. And you will not get there by doing the remote and written communication. And to be clear, you do document, don't get me wrong, there is documentation, but it's different. And you take out all the redundant work and the delays that you have when you send stuff up and down to each other. You put people at the table. To make that happen, that close collaboration means that you have to identify all stakeholders and to get them together. Because if you are working in this 2-week sprint and you miss just one stakeholder and you're at the end of your sprint and say, okay, guys, we're ready, then someone will say, no, you're not. And if you have all stakeholders together, and that's really important, having those, everyone has those, from his or her position, the responsibility to make sure that what the team is making at the end of the sprint is ready for production. And if you have all stakeholders together, you can do that, including decision making and feedback and all these things. Yeah.
Understand, that's clear. But then this is triggering me to ask you about why a company would need to use Agile or to migrate. I don't know, even if this could be like saying like as a migration from traditional to Agile. Because sometimes I feel that migration could be too much, but maybe a change of the mindset. But why does the organization would need to move forward for Agile itself?
Yeah, so why do you need Agile is, if you would have asked me in January this year, why, I would have said to you, the world of technology and innovation has such a pace. As an organization, you need to be able to respond to change, blah, blah, blah. And it's very valid. It's very true, right? The pace of innovation and technology it's so far, and it will never slow down again, right? So as an organization, you have to be quick, or the competition will bypass you, or what you're thinking about and trying to design is already obsolete because there's new technology. And it happened to organizations, and overnight almost, organizations got into trouble in specific cases, for example, in the telco industry. At the same time, you can say, okay, and what is it that you need for this, right? Because we know that technology and blah blah, and then say, okay, what do we need? We're going to do agile transformations, and then all of a sudden the world was struck by COVID-19. And I don't want to capitalize on COVID-19, but for companies, their business model was disrupted in some cases, by a press conference from a prime minister, right? Done, and now you're closed. So what do, right? And a restaurant can say, okay, from now on, I'll be a takeaway. That change of business model is required. You can't do 8 weeks in your decision-making process about this, because by then, you know, you're bankrupt, you need to do something. So you can see that I think what COVID-19 has thus shown, that changes can be so fast and the impact can be so massive. As an organization, you have to be prepared for this kind of change, and you have to be able to respond to it with a high level of quality. And that requires quite a few things, you know, to make that happen.
I see. To be really honest, even past week, I started to see on my food delivery app. Fun enough, that they are, some of the restaurants in my surroundings, they are building up like pop-up stores only for delivery that didn't exist in the past. So the main restaurants are still closed, but then they are capitalizing in a different way. But they changed. The change was necessarily, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's quite important to embrace the change. But then, as you tapped into the business field, we all know that Agile was mainly used by IT, at the least up to a few years ago. But nowadays, we are seeing many sectors and departments of organizations, they are moving forward, trying to adopt Agile as well. But how do you see this? Is it really possible to use the Agile mindset or techniques or practices apart from IT? Because IT nowadays is quite the core of many organizations by the massive use of technology. But is it possible to adapt to the other side of the story as well, like HR, maybe marketing or finance? How do you see this?
So the quick answer is yes. That's the easy one. The reason I say this, you know, if it's an organization, right? If you bring a new product, well, take the example of the restaurants, right? So they can change their business model and have a little store somewhere. But if the public doesn't know it's there, you're late, right? You missed the boat. And that proves, for example, that marketing is involved in that agile delivery. But a next one could be, the next one could be, okay, if I don't do it in the proper legal way, I might be stopped after a day by the police. Point I want to make is, I like to use the expression full delivery. And full delivery means you cover all aspects. And technology is important. We know this. Software is important. We know this. But if legal, marketing are not there, if HR is not ready to bring the right people in that same agile way, you know, we're still in trouble. And one of my clients in Central Europe is very demanding in the nearshoring situation. Difficult to get people, and even more difficult to keep people. So the HR department has to be very fast and very agile in the way of it. So recruiting campaigns, you know, multidisciplined HR teams where not one person is doing all the first interviews and one person is doing all the second interviews. No, where you work collectively, where you have your plan board and your WIP limits. It works. And this is how we do transformation. So you take the marketing campaigns, but also the multidiscipline teams where you have and software delivery and marketing and legal and operations all working on one. You have to work agile as one together. It's not something that you do easily, right? This has to happen. This is, for me, business and IT is, okay, business and IT. What? I would say business and development. Then I get more happy, because a business area, a department, might need a recruitment campaign. And then we start working agile, because we have the business and the development, and a development organization is the recruitment, the HR department that has a recruitment project or MVP or whatever you call it, right? And they do that in an agile way, because if you bring in all those delays, you know, they will be working at the competition by the time you get to your first interview, right? So you have to do things in a different way. The big problem is, Ademar, that people underestimate. You know, if you look on the outside of Agile, it's very simple. You know, it's a daily stand-up, and we have a plan board, and we have post-its, and oh, it's easy. But the point is to have those people together, the stakeholders, like I said in the beginning, in their interaction, empowered to take decisions, changing documentation standards, people that are no longer just a developer or just a tester or just a designer, but are able, you know, if they finish a task here that they can step in for someone else who's having a struggle to make sure that you get a team delivery. That requires change in job profiles, that requires a change in processes, that requires change in the organization, in management structures, etc., the leadership team. And it requires quite a lot, I call it the paradigm shift, right? Because the perception of how things should be is changed. It's changing reality, right? That's what you do. And for this, you need a strong leadership, and you need coaches, internal and external coaches, to make it happen. So business and IT, well, my point on that one, right? For me, it's all business. And if you want to use that separation, it's business and development. And it can be a department that needs a recruitment campaign. It can be another department that needs a marketing campaign. It can be another department that needs a new product or a service on the market, including legal, marketing, and everything, right? So you all work agile.
I see. But as far as I can resume a little bit of what you said, this is going to involve a major culture change at the organizations, because they need to change their own perspectives by switching off from I'm just this, I'm just that, to embrace different skills and make things to come together, and then to deliver something that makes sense and delivers value to the customer. Am I correct?
Yeah, if you take the word culture, I love that you take the word culture, because what I like to say, there's so many definitions like agile, I think, about culture, but what I perceive as culture is a group of people when they have shared habits. So for me, that makes culture like a bucket, right? It's empty and people fill it up. And that also makes that those people are the ones that bring the change. It's not a mechanic, it's not a process description, it's the people that bring that change. And it requires different people. So the profile of people, in traditional organizations, when you move to an organization that is agile, is changing. People become multidisciplined, to support the beautiful expression "stop starting and start finishing," to be able, to contribute to the team delivery, to help your teammates if they get stuck, or your teammates will help you when you get stuck. And you want to avoid individual dependencies. I don't want to have one analyst, because if that one analyst is out, what happens? Breaks a leg, gets corona, whatever. Right? What do? You need to have every task in the team needs to be done by a couple of people. If you have 10 different tasks to be done, every team member should be able to do at least 5 of them, right? So you get multidisciplined people, and really that focus from individual tasks to team delivery, the different responsibilities that you have and where you're working. It even requires getting away from individual targets, because individual targets they destroy team deliveries, right? So there's a lot of things that you need to change, and that makes the aspect of your change is difficult. People don't like change. Paradigm shifts are difficult, because but you have to let go of what it is. I mean, I don't know if you have a driver's license and if you like driving a car in the Netherlands. Go to the UK and start driving a car, and notice that the steering wheel is on the other side of the car, right? And we would say the wrong one, the wrong side of the car. They would say the same about us. The point is, if you switch, that's the difficulty, eh? And that's why we need to go. And that's not easy, and it takes time. And that means that change, you can be an agile specialist, an agile expert, experienced, but if you don't know how to coach, to facilitate, because you cannot change other people, you can only invite people to make their own change, right? To take away the fear and to enlarge their comfort zone. And that's not easy. And you need to have those coaching skills. And I like to make the metaphor, for example, in sports, football, right? When you are a serious good football player, that doesn't mean that you are a serious good coach. It's no guarantee. And we know this. And some they are both good coach and a good football player, but most of them are not. It's either one or the other, right? And that's what we need to really have these coaches. And I'm always a little bit reluctant about things like certification, but for me, having a proper agile coach that is shown to have both the knowledge, embraces the body of knowledge and has the skills to deliver is very important.
Yeah, this is like what bring all the knowledge and the skill and the competence together to guarantee the professional knows what they are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I have more 2 questions to go,
Yeah.
but like these 2 questions, they're a bit off topic. But the first of them, it is, why Utah over there in USA to create Agile Manifesto? How you guys came up with this definition of a place, like how this started?
I think I got in Utah. In the end, it was the linking pin was Alistair Coburn. What happened is that I was very active in what we would call meetups. We didn't have meetups at the time, but in the community, you know, those sessions where you eat pizzas after office hours, you go to one of the offices where people meet and share their knowledge. And the community that I became very active in was the DSDM community, based in the UK. And as DSDM community, we had chapters, UK, Denmark, Sweden, the Netherlands, Belgium, India, Australia, and then it was North America. And the contact in North America to sort of kickstart the DSDM community in the United States and Canada was Dane Faulkner. And Dane and Alistair Coburn are friends, and Dane found out that a couple of people were getting together to write about different ways of working because waterfall doesn't work. And then Dane was able to get someone in from the DSDM consortium, and that turned out to me. Salt Lake City, because Dane hosted the session, and he had a massive, beautiful, on the 9th or the 11th floor, a beautiful apartment where I had the privilege to stay. So I would wake up in the morning and you look over the snowy Rocky Mountains with the sun behind it. And I thought, okay, you know, this is nice. And then you get in one of those standard conference rooms for 2.5 days, squeezing a manifesto out of it. The plan was by a couple of people brought together to write a publication about different ways of working. And it became the Agile Manifesto.
Oh, nice. That's a story behind the manifesto over there. Because other time when I read, like, I was created over there in 2001 in Utah, all the time tricks my mind, like, why over there?
Yeah, well, this is the reason. Yeah.
Now it's clear. And then I have my last question to you. That many times when I read blogs or even articles regarding to Agile, many people refers to Agile as practice, others mindset, others techniques, methodology. Agile is a practice, a methodology, mindset. What it is the best definition using just one word?
It's not a methodology. That's clear.
That's clear.
What I like to say is Agile is. So what we did when we wrote the manifesto in Salt Lake is that we explained to each other how we work in a different way. So I was doing workshops and iterative prototyping and that kind of thing, and the other guys were doing pair programming or test-driven development, and we're working sprints and visualization and stuff. So we explained to each other, and we said, okay, so we all work different, but we all work different in a different way. So what is it that we share? And then we came up. We had I think like an hour. Okay, what is the word that you use? And of course, flexible was also on the table for a while. And then we came up with the word agile. So I like to say that the agile is a concept. It's not a methodology, because there's not a described way how it works. So the concept is agile, and in agile we have the methodologies like stream programming, test-driven development, Scrum, Adaptive, Crystal. I perceive Lean and Kanban as part of the family of Agile. You have DSDM. These days, later on, we'll publish things like Less, right? So we have the methodologies. So concept, methodologies, and then the methodologies have their practices. Every methodology has a set of practices, and the practices are what you do on a daily basis. Right, so that is how for me it is related. And also, if I may, this is pointing out what is the challenge for Agile coaches. So when we wrote the manifesto, we had 13 different methodologies with their own practices, right? And some were focusing on improving the quality, like extreme programming and TDD. Some are focusing on efficiency, like Scrum. Lean and Kanban are very much focusing on efficiency, and DSDM has an extreme strong value focus, direct client communication. But also the different methodologies. We're focusing on large groups like DSDM. I did DSDM projects with 40, 50 people. The largest that I ever did was over 90. And some are focusing on just what we call the agile team, 9 people or less. And some people are just focusing on what can you do as an individual, or maybe with your colleague, when you talk about pairing, for example. So you have those different practices. So depending on if you have a quality problem, you take practices from TDD or from Extreme Programming. If you have an efficiency problem, you do Lean, Kanban, or Scrum practices. And when you have your value, you can rely on adaptive, Crystal, and DSDM practices. And this, mentioning this is the body of knowledge from an Agile coach. And I have to say that most Agile coaches I know have a very thin and very small body of knowledge. So in terms of what the Agile world would benefit from is if we can get that one bigger, because a lot of companies spending a lot of time and money on becoming Agile, but there is also very often not that nice. It's the cost that they have, but not the benefits that they are looking for. And I think if you want to achieve that, you need to have the full body of knowledge. If a team has an issue, you can check the issue. Okay, this is the kind of practice that would help you. And therefore you need practices from different methodologies, all within the concept.
That's clear. That's clear. Next time that I read an article, then I'll pay more attention about how this is written. Then I'll compare all the time. Then say, guys, it's not this, it's about that. But that's great. Arie, it was a pleasure to talk to you and have this session with you. I hope you enjoyed already. And of course, I hope to talk to you soon again, or an interview, webinar, or any other online event that we are going to produce. And thank you very much to be our chief examiner to our program as well. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Ademar. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.